scored 3 goals and recorded 2 assists over 5 games. And she really became integral to Fort Lauderdale's scoring production. The problem is you haven't seen her over the last couple of weeks. That's because Fort Lauderdale head coach Tyrone Mears benched both her and Felicia Knox. He said that their training performances just weren't up to the standard that he holds this team to. Coach Mears told us that it's very important that he has players buying in all the time. In the last couple of weeks, Jasmine has really had a chance to reflect and improve on that as you see her back in the starting lineup. And honestly, Fort Lauderdale is going to need her
It's a beautiful night in Charlotte, North Carolina, the backdrop for a playoff debut and a shot at the very first USL Super League Championship. Alongside former Georgia standout Marion Crowder, I'm Bridget Howard. Tonight's match is presented by Nucor. Well, it's a win and you're in. Carolina Ascent, the #1 seed, hosting Fort Lauderdale United, the 4 seed, aiming to flip the script and punch their own ticket to the final, where Tampa Bay will be waiting. But since the season has began, Carolina Ascent has set the standard. They have a league best 45 goals from a league high 15 goals scored. They've only conceded 22. Their offense gets all the recognition, but the defense is equally as impressive. They've got a dozen clean sheets courtesy of Megan McClelland and Samantha Leshneck-Murphy. They are the inaugural Players' Shield winners, and they have truly set the bar, built to win it all.
The success in the spring from this team, it's a direct byproduct of the foundation that they intentionally built in the fall. Not only with their game model, but with the commitment to forming an identity. And Bridget, that's taken the guesswork out of the 90 minutes and allowed for more execution on the field for players to focus on.
From back to front, they're a complete team with exciting young stars. They're looking to prove why they've been #1 since day one. Leading the charge is tonight's player to watch, presented by Gatorade, Mia Corbin. She's the engine for Carolina's attack.
She's completely taken over this offense. Not only does she have quality from distance, but it's the recognition of the attacking progression happening in front of her that's allowed her to find those opportunistic channels. But Bridget, we can't talk about the offensive firepower without talking about the triple threat of this Fort Lauderdale attack. 3 players on this Fort Lauderdale team account for 30% of the goals allowed for Carolina: Hamid, McCain, and Locklear. It's aggressive positioning that they're able to take advantage of against Carolina, and it's a willingness from Fort Lauderdale to keep their shape expansive and have more numbers in the box.
Well, let's check in with the third member of our crew, Haley Sutton, for more on a key piece of Fort Lauderdale's Big Three.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting spring for Jasmine Hamid. It actually all started back at the end of the fall slate when she was awarded Player of the Month for the month of December. She carried that momentum into February, where she scored 3 goals and recorded 2 assists over 5 games. And she really became integral to Fort Lauderdale's scoring production. The problem is you haven't seen her over the last couple of weeks. That's because Fort Lauderdale head coach Tyrone Mears benched both her and Felicia Knox. He said that their training performances just weren't up to the standard that he holds this team to. Coach Mears told us that it's very important that he has players buying in all the time. And the last couple of weeks, Jasmine has really had a chance to reflect and improve on that as you see her back in the starting lineup. And honestly, Fort Lauderdale is going to need her if they're going to take down Carolina today. Hamid, just one of a handful of players on Fort Lauderdale's roster who has scored against Carolina. So we're keeping our eye on her today, guys.
Well, it's all led to this, a place in the first ever USL Super League final on the line. Carolina, the powerhouse; Fort Lauderdale, the fearless 4 seed. 90 minutes from history, and kickoff is just moments away. We'll have starting lineups and kickoff after this. You're watching the USL Super League on Peacock.
When it comes to delivering high quality, affordable health care, relationships matter. And after 90 years, Blue Cross North Carolina is proud of the relationships we've built with you. We're 5,000 neighbors, friends, and family committed to improving the health and well-being of everyone across this state. We're here for you, all of you.
I want to stop being sidelined by pain. I want to tell him I'm in. I want a surgeon who speaks more knees than he can count. I want the best care in the game. I want a team that's with me every step of the way. I want to bounce back fast. I want to show them my best is yet to come.
For the best orthopedic care, you want Novant. Novant Health. Best surgeons, amazing nurses, remarkable care.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Focus! Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power.
Whatever it takes.
Trusted for over 100 years. Tiger Balm's proven herbal blend tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger so that you can rise above pain.
Let's make a Karate Kid.
And get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
Tonight's match is presented by Nucor. Nucor Corporation is the safest, highest quality, lowest cost, most productive, and most profitable steel and steel products company in the world. Nucor is the official sponsor of the Carolina Ascent. Tonight's starting lineups are presented by Capelli Sport. We'll start with the home side, Philip Poole, sticking with the lineup he went with in the regular season finale versus Dallas.
And this has been their steady lineup, held by the back four of Butler, Studer. Look for Aguilera and Merrick to have aggressive positioning, trying to get into the attack. And watch Riley Parker on your right-hand side get forward when Audrey Harding is in isolation.
For Fort Lauderdale, Haley pointed out Jasmine Hamid back in the starting lineup, which is huge.
Huge news for this Fort Lauderdale side, and actually I'm going to point your attention to Shania Gordon as well. This completes a very dangerous front three, left alone in isolation. There's not many teams in this league that can handle him. Also, Julia Grosso is back in the starting lineup at that left back position. Raji also making an impact at holding midfielder.
Well, tonight's injury report is presented by Novant Health. No new names featured on tonight's list, but it is worth mentioning that Lavinie Vaca has been a major missing piece on the back line for this Fort Lauderdale team since she went down with a season-ending injury earlier this spring.
Really good call out there, Bridget, because Lavinie Vaca is a person that this team was built on, and they went out and they got Laurel Ansbro, and with the insertion of a player like Laurel Ansbro, not only do they get some distribution ability, but they also get a very stealth 1v1 defender.
Well, there's our first look at our head official tonight, Alexandra Billiter. She will handle the heavy lifting here at American Legion Memorial Stadium in downtown Charlotte. We're underway here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Carolina Ascent playing host to the 4-seed Fort Lauderdale United. Two teams, one ticket to the title.
Goal kick.
Alongside my partner, Marion Crowder, I'm Bridget Howard. Our sideline reporter tonight is Haley Sutton. This is the second of two semifinal matches en route to the inaugural USL Super League final. Last night, we saw the Tampa Bay Sun pick up a major win at home over Dallas Trinity to punch their ticket to the final. Who will be joining them? We'll find out. Sarah Tricoli tripped up in the midfield, a restart for Carolina Ascent. Samantha Leshnek-Murphy, the starting keeper for Carolina Ascent tonight. Addie McCain with a good step. And this ball slotted through to Locklear. Locklear looked to play it across, hits the deck, and that'll roll out for a corner kick.
Well, you can already see some adjustments in the way that this Fort Lauderdale side is presented that they haven't of late. Addie McCain pushed up in a more advanced position in her attacking midfield role, something that was very successful the previous times they played Carolina.
This corner kick is brought to you by Nucor. The first for Fort Lauderdale tonight. It'll be taken by Daria Raji. She sends it into the box. High arcer headed out. McNeil plays it back in, but an easy collection for Leshnek-Murphy. We had a great conversation this week with Carolina's Philip Poole. He talked to us about that goalkeeper battle. They brought in Samantha Leshnek-Murphy for this spring season. He wanted Megan McClelland to have a challenge in net, and Despite Leshnek Murphy getting the start tonight, Philip Poole said the jersey belongs to no one when it comes to the postseason. And Megan McClelland herself, she won the Golden Glove Award in this inaugural season.
Megan McClelland's contributions in the fall can't go unnoticed for what it set this Carolina Ascent side to do in the spring. And I love that from Philip Poole, because when you have a competitive training environment, you're ultimately going to have higher standards day in, day out. And bringing in 2 potential number ones, what a move from him, and it's paid off dividends.
So a throw in at the top of your screen for Carolina, and you can see there are so many fans in attendance tonight. Charlotte loves their soccer. Quick movement from Fort Lauderdale. This ball played up. Leshnek Murphy coming away outside her box. Riley Parker takes it from McNeil. Parker looking ahead. Parker cuts it back. Hutchinson just over the crossbar.
Well, Riley Parker has come into her own playing as a right winger for this Carolina Ascent side. A player who is not only so good in the box, but is also very skilled on the ball, and she's got a willingness to get in line.
Well, let's send it down to Haley Sutton. She's got more on Riley Parker.
By surprise. She actually played for the Tampa Bay Sun in the fall slate, just got in a handful of games there before moving over to Carolina. Coach Poole said he underestimated her ability on the ball, which we just saw right there on that play. She had a tough time in college, sharing her ACL at Alabama before coming back and leading Alabama to so many records in her final season there. She's become such an important part of the offense. She connects with Addison Merrick down on that right side, so keep your eye on that part of the field. She's been one of the bright spots as well for Carolina. Last week against Dallas, she was one of the better players for Carolina. Coach Poole called her an underdog, but you see there how important she is to this offense.
Riley Parker allows for a lot of things in this Carolina attack. Haley's spot on, allows for a lot of versatility, allows for a partnership with Addison Merrick, who's going to get ushered out of the sideline. But really what I love is the versatility that Riley brings in terms of how they can build out. You'll see her tuck in sometimes. They can build out in a diamond. You'll see her more in the width, as Haley mentioned, combining with Addison Merrick. And she's really got quality movements in the box as well, that when Audrey Harding gets in isolation on that left-hand side, Riley Parker almost joins herself as a two-front.
Love that graphic there. Roll Tide Riley. A standout career at the University of Alabama. Marion, you had quite the entertaining conversation with her a couple of weeks ago. She got to head out to a NASCAR race, something she's always been very passionate about.
She's a cowgirl after my own heart. Can't say that I didn't love that conversation with her, no doubt. And I also covered Riley pretty heavily when she was at the University of Alabama. And it was really interesting to see her there and have so many playmakers around her. You look at Ashlyn Sarepka on this very Carolina Ascent side. You also look at Felicia Knox, unavailable for this Fort Lauderdale side today. But they were all part of such a historic run for Alabama. And Riley Parker played a completely different role. And to see her transition from that role into being such a key piece in a different way for Carolina Ascent, something that Philip Poole has to be happy with.
So many of these players in the Super League, it took a full season to figure out their role within one team. Riley Parker has had to figure out her role within 2 separate teams, and she's done quite a nice job. This looping ball over the top. And look at our first look at the goalkeeper for Fort Lauderdale United, Cosette Morche. Morche making her 23rd start. 37 saves this season, 7 clean sheets.
And there's a lot that's asked of Cosette Morche. This Fort Lauderdale side likes to try and play out of the back when they can, and they like to expand their center backs. Cosette Morche will step up and act as a third center back. So much of the game from her played at her feet, and something we've seen her progress very well through the spring season.
Mia Corbin tracks this ball down. Harding sends one into the box and just out of reach of a couple of Ascent players. Carolina sporting their Trailblazer kits tonight. Fort Lauderdale in their white tops, aqua bottoms. Fort Lauderdale moving right to left. And here we've got a great opportunity for Fort Lauderdale. Initially saved by Leshnek Murphy. That was Jasmine Hamid.
And this is that aggressive positioning we talked about with Carolina's outside backs. Addison Merrick stepped in front of Jasmine Hamid in that moment. The rotation not quick enough from Sydney Studer as the center back, but well done from Leshnek Murphy. She comes in, takes away the only angle that Jasmine Hamid has, and a big time save to keep this game level at 0.
Jasmine Hamid has scored on 3 separate occasions in the regular season series versus Carolina Ascent. It was a good look there from her, but an even better defensive effort by Samantha Leshnek Murphy.
And that's what you're gonna keep expecting to see from this Fort Lauderdale United side. There is a time and a place to build. There's also a time and a place to go. And they recognize that this is a Carolina side that wants to be progressive in the way they attack, meaning that they want to have more numbers going forward. And the risk to that is obviously that you concede the space in behind you and you rely on the rotation of those center backs, Sydney Studer, Jenna Butler. So Fort Lauderdale's going to play this risk-reward game of just taking the midfield entirely out of this one, playing a bit more Route 1 soccer.
Carolina will reset. Long ball played up. Searching for Merrick. Throw in. Mia Corbin. Tricoli. Riley Parker hits the deck. Cameron Brooks too hard on that intervention, and that's a dicey spot to give up a free kick.
And this is that versatility we were talking about with Riley Parker. You see how she's already inverted herself to be more as a number 9, from her winger position to be more of a pure striker, and her willingness to play back to goal. She knows the contact is coming, absolutely welcomes it. And this is a really dangerous area. We've got a couple players over the ball for Carolina. It will likely be Jill Aguilera.
So Jill Aguilera and Taylor Porter over this ball. Aguilera was the golden playmaker in this inaugural season. Porter stands over it. Big moment coming for Carolina. Jill Aguilera on the ground. Saved by Morshea. Food Lion is the official grocer partner of the Carolina Ascent. Through Food Lion's Score to Give Me More initiative, every goal scored is 1,000 meals donated to Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina. In the first half of this season, Food Lion and the Carolina Ascent have already donated 45,000 meals. Food Lion, easy, fresh, affordable. Alexandra Billiter, our head official tonight, getting her work in early. Addie McCain waved for a foul. 13 minutes in here at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Another free kick opportunity for Carolina. This ball sent forward. Merrick with the intervention. Parker. Merrick into the box. Sends it out of bounds.
And that'll be a goal kick for Lauderdale United FC.
Addison Merrick. She's got 1 goal and 1 assist this season. The University of Kansas grad was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Jasmine Hamid with space. Hamid plays it on the ground. Cleared out by Carolina. And Marion, we've seen throughout this regular season series between these two teams, a majority of Fort Lauderdale's goals have come from those opportunities where a player gets it out wide and serves it into the box.
Yeah, a lot of it has come from the width, right? And then the weak side runner acting as a near post draw, or perhaps across the face of goal like we've seen with Jasmine Hamid. And we have to talk about the very smart changes that Tyrone Mears had. That's a good ball.
How about that ball out to Audrey Harding? She was just unable to tame it. Goal kick on the way for Morshea, but fantastic look from Riley Parker.
Another goal kick for Lauderdale United.
And Riley Parker's already starting to pick up on the pockets of space where she can be a bit more dangerous as opposed to the width. And to get back to that conversation, Tyrone Mears has been one of the most adaptable coaches in this league, right? We've seen him shift different formations, we've seen him shift players around, and he's walking this balance between finding the best position for those individual players and then also finding what's best for the team. And you look at Shania Gordon, a player who we've seen is likely going to be an outside back in her future, but in this particular matchup, she poses much more of a threat on the wide channels. You've seen Addie Merrick drop back to be more of a 6 in some games. She pushes a little bit higher because this is not going to be a game of distribution for them. It's going to be a game of Route 1 like we've already seen.
This Fort Lauderdale team coming into this weekend ranked 1st in the Super League with 78% passing accuracy. Being able to contain and distribute the ball has been a big part of their game, but to your point, it's going to look different here this evening. Tyrone Mears told us earlier this week that the last couple games of the spring really gave this group some confidence. It almost took the games winding down for this group to figure out how to play together, something they did so well at the end of the fall and beginning of the spring. Locklear wanted that.
I love that. Because you know what? That's confidence building right there. She could have easily not done that, and you know what? I'm a little surprised she didn't get a yellow because of it. But Locklear, a very physical player, picks her head up, whistle's already blown. He's that go of you. Not that she needs any help.
No, she certainly doesn't. She's the Energizer Bunny for this Fort Lauderdale United side. She is everywhere on the pitch, and funny enough, she started off as a defender. That was her primary role in college, and then she moved into that attacking position, and she said, I'm always gonna love going into a tackle, but her offensive abilities have been put on full display with this Fort Lauderdale side.
And we don't talk about that enough, right? The importance, when you're talking about group defending, the importance of it starting from your striker.
Quick passing, Locklear gets it at the top of the box again. Sends it wide. But Fort Lauderdale, they've struggled throughout this spring season, and this is them looking in form right here. The quick passing. Locklear gets a good look. Samantha Leshnek-Murphy set to take the goal kick. Carolina Plays a long ball up to Parker. Parker cuts it inside. Hutchinson. Tricoli. Tricoli plays it out to Merrick. Merrick across the box. Morshea will see it out.
A couple of good sequences for this Carolina side that have really started with Riley Parker's recognition of that little pocket of space right in front of the back line. Again, we've seen her keep the width expansive. We have seen her tuck in and almost act as an additional midfielder. She's doing more of that in the recent minutes, and that facilitation is causing some decision-making from this Fort Lauderdale side, having to pick between conceding the width or conceding the central spaces. And this in-to-out football right now for Carolina has posed some promising sequences, just really missing the final action.
The climb continues for the Carolina Ascent. Be a part of the excitement as we rise to new heights in the 2025-26 season. Place your $25 deposit per seat today to lock in your favorite seats, the best pricing, exclusive perks, and cheer for the only professional women's sports team in town. Visit carolinaascent.com/season tickets for details. Together, we'll conquer the next peak. A goal kick for Fort Lauderdale. Riley Parker got to the end line, unable to make anything happen. Pressure coming on to Morshea. She finds space. Fort Lauderdale was the final team to clinch a spot in the inaugural Super League playoffs. Meanwhile, Carolina Ascent, the inaugural Players' Shield winners. They've been the team to beat all season long. Jasmine Hamid, she had Locklear on the near side. Locklear looking for that through ball out to Gordon.
The ideas are very good, though, from both of these sides early on. For Fort Lauderdale in that particular moment, what I've loved so much about these opening 20 minutes is just how decisive they've been. They've done well to get pressure onto the ball, and then once they win it in that dangerous area in their attacking half, they're not taking 2-3 touches. It's been very quick. The runs have been there. You can tell that this is something they have worked on training, this high tempo, direct offense.
Carolina will switch the field. Another ball played up over the top. Sent out by Fort Lauderdale. Jill Aguilera played at the University of Arizona, had an electric career there. Golden Playmaker Award winner this season. Haley, you've got more for us on Jasmine Hamid. What are you seeing down there?
Yeah, on that last play where the ball went out of bounds with Jasmine Hamid, it looked like it made contact with somewhere on her right arm, and I've been watching her over the last minute or so, and she kind of keeps holding on to her shoulder. Not so much now, but you can see how she's kind of holding her right arm right here. It's just something to keep our eye on as this game goes on, especially when we've seen how physical it's been to this point.
Yeah. And we have offside.
Shania Gordon called offside.
A small adjustment that Fort Lauderdale's attackers can make that would bode them massively is whenever you're playing this game, right, of direct football, you're always trying to time run so you're not offside. We've seen a couple of offside calls, and when that happens, first of all, the speed of Hamid and Gordon. They don't necessarily need to cheat, but when you're trying to time it, so much of what you can do is kind of arc that run a bit wider, right? So you keep the back line in your vision, in your peripheral. If they can start making that small adjustment, some of these might just be timed perfectly.
Harding with speed, gets it to the end line, plays it across the box. Defended by Fort Lauderdale, Merrick looked on goal. Another great look from Carolina. Locklear gets back her footing. She looks up to Hamid. Hamid. She loses her footing. And Sydney Studer looking for an outlet now, and she'll send it out of bounds.
I see the reaction on Tyrone Mears as I'm a little surprised as well that that's not a foul. But just look at the defensive effort here from this Fort Lauderdale side. That's Addie McCain tracking all the way back on the top goal scorer for this Carolina team. Mia Corbin was nearly tasting another one after a miscue from Cosette Morche. But the captain, the veteran, Addie McCain, doing her defensive responsibilities.
And that looked like Shania Gordon that also got back and had that second deflection. McNeil kept it in bounds. Corner kick coming for Fort Lauderdale.
And that will be a corner
This corner kick brought to you by Nucor.
United, brought to you by Nucor.
So yet another corner kick for Fort Lauderdale. Both of these teams starting to find their footing here in the 25th minute.
Can we take a small moment for the house DJ? I mean, playing some absolute bangers.
Great bops. Great bops. Carolina has got a great playoff environment. Ball played in, headed by McCain. And Alexandra Billiter will call him offside. A missed opportunity for Fort Lauderdale. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina is the official health insurance provider of the Carolina Ascent. Blue Cross North Carolina makes health insurance easy. Discover employer, individual, family, Medicare, and Medicaid plans from Blue Cross North Carolina. Better care starts here. Quick passing. Merrick gets around her defender. Merrick to the top of the box, gets a look. Carolina really starting to test Cosette Morche.
And it's just a bit too soft right here from Brooks in the 1v1 defending. Merritt gets by that one, no problem. Not even a great touch, but she does have a great prep touch. And that was promising in terms of her positioning right on top of the 18-yard box. Bridget, you start to wonder, right, as we've watched this Fort Lauderdale side have several goal kicks. We've also seen a bit of high press from this Carolina Ascent side. And with the momentum, as you just mentioned, that they're starting to generate on the offensive side of the ball, you have to wonder if you're not going to start taking that on the defensive side of the ball as well.
This ball played up to Hamid. Hamid! With a defender right on her back. She's had a number of opportunities from that exact spot so far in this first half and just took too long there.
Couldn't agree more. And this is not only the third time we've seen it, but the fourth in this first half, where it's too many touches, it's not decisive enough, and a lot of that's because she doesn't want to take it on her left foot, right? There is this cognizant to bring it back to the right foot so she can have a more favorable strike on goal. And in those moments, you have to take your prep touch, you have to pick your spot. You've got to put that one away.
Another corner kick brought to you by Nucor. They'll go for the short ball. And it was Hutchinson on the end of it that was able to cut off that second ball. Sabrina McNeil, number 25. She scored a goal versus DC Power, her first of the season. Raji, the field goal is good. But in all seriousness, nice to see Daria Raji making her 20th start of the season, but she's been in and out of that starting 11 for Tyrone Mears. Her last start came on May 20th versus DC Power. But Coach Mears told us it's all about keeping the ball for her. If she's able to keep the ball for them, she gets herself into good positions and is able to facilitate really well in that midfield.
When they were on such a run at the beginning of this spring season, a lot of it was credit to what she was able to do. And as that's another offside, also for this game in particular, the insertion of Daria Raji has allowed for Addie McCain to push higher up and be a bit more distributive in the final third.
The Carolina Ascent online merch store is live. Stock up for our next match on scarves, t-shirts, hats, personalized jerseys, and more. To shop, visit carolinaascent.myshopify.com. Throw in for Fort Lauderdale. Mia Corbin finished second in the Golden Boot race this season, coming up short to Allie Thornton from Dallas, but Corbin is just one of those players that is so exciting to watch, given the fact that we know how threatening she is offensively, but the work she does to get back and insert herself defensively, she's one of those complete players in this Super League.
She is. I would put her in that conversation with Amina Ekic for perhaps one of the most complete players in this USL Super League, right? And the ability to not only be present on the defensive side of the ball, but then you look at all the different facets that she has on the attacking side of the ball. Her 1v1 skills, check. Her ability to strike from distance, check. And like we said in the open, the recognition of what's going on around her and the ability to use that movement to her advantage.
The referees have called for a hydration break.
So a hydration break now for both sides. It's a hot one in Charlotte tonight. For more on the Golden Playmaker, Jill Aguilera, let's bring in Haley Sutton.
You're here with your school, your team, your company, or
Jill Aguilera loves being involved in goal scoring. That's what she told us this week when we had a chance to catch up with her before this matchup. When she played in college at Arizona, she actually found the back of the net quite a few times. She did tear her ACL early in that career, but then bounced back and was able to find the back of the net several times. And then when she went to the pros, she actually played for the Chicago Red Stars in the NWSL, and her first introduction to a position change at outside back was having to defend so much talent that we see at the NWSL. So she learned pretty quickly as a defender that she was going to have to work just a little bit harder. She told us going into the season she wanted to make sure that she was perfecting some of those fine details, so making sure she's picking out the right passes, making sure some of those crosses that we've seen her rewarded for are perfectly weighted. So just an overall great player. Head coach Philip Poole told us she's a professional through and through. She holds herself to a high standard, and make sure that she holds the rest of these players to that same standard.
Thanks, Haley. Yeah, when we spoke with head coach Philip Poole for Carolina Ascent, I asked him what one word was that he would use to describe this 24-25 team. He said professional, and Jill Aguilera was the player that immediately came to mind for him when he used that word. She's one of the standard setters for this team, and this entire group has been beyond impressive with the way they carry themselves in the community, on the pitch, and professional certainly describes this group.
And there's no coincidence that in that same sentence, he described his team in one word as professional. Professionals on and off the field. And, you know, we always talk about tactics, and we always talk about coaches presenting the game model and the game plan. But ultimately, when it comes in the 90 minutes and it's between the lines, it's all about the players, and that player-led leadership is very evident in a teammate like Jill Aguilera.
So a substitution during that hydration break, Sarah Tricoli steps off, and it's Catherine Gonzalez, number 15, now on for Carolina Ascent. All substitutions tonight are brought to you by Botero Carts. What do you make of that early substitution by Phillip Poole, Marion?
Well, it's really interesting because I've been watching the partnership between Sarah Tricoli and Taylor Porter for a couple of matches now, right? And they balance each other out quite well, where you have a very intelligent player in Sarah Tricoli, one of the best in terms of reading the game and being able to distribute a 40, 50-yard pass. You also have kind of that smasher, right? That player that's willing to cover every single blade of grass in Taylor Porter. And I like this early substitution because I believe Gonzalez can actually bring a bit of energy to this midfield.
Haley, what do you have to add for us?
That substitution, very interesting, guys. Sarah Tricoli actually came over to talk with Phillip Poole about 10 or 15 minutes into this first half. You could tell that they were trying to discuss the midfield, which, Marion, I know you've been talking a lot about in this matchup. It just seems like she doesn't have the same pace to keep up with what Fort Lauderdale's offense is bringing. So bringing in Catherine Gonzalez not only gives them some pace, as you mentioned, Marion, up front, but also a little bit more support in the defensive midfield position.
Yeah, Gonzalez, this is her 23rd appearance on the season, has played over 750 minutes and just one assist, but to both of your points, she does add the pace. Porter won the initial battle, gets a throw in. Taylor Porter, number 14, one of those players who is an Iron Woman this season. Played every single minute of every match. You can see how deep Mia Corbin is dropping back right now.
And that's a direct reaction to the substitution, right? We've talked at length about what Catherine Gonzalez brings to this group, and what Mia Corbin was not bringing to this group in the first half was her ability to get on it. Dropping deeper allows for that, and hopefully with her dropping deeper, being a bit more on the ball, some of her distribution abilities can come to life, and it can unlock players like Audrey Harding, who we have hardly called.
So Jill Aguilera had a great run towards goal and was looking for Merrick on the near side. Merrick was unable to contain the ball. They still keep possession at the bottom of your screen. Addie McCain into space for Shania Gordon. Another pickoff in the midfield, it's Taylor Smith. McCain looking for an outlet. Brooks. Sent forward to McNeil. McNeil with a ball across the box, and that's a good collection from Samantha Leshnek-Murphy. Shania Gordon, number 11, making her 29th start. 5 goals and 3 assists to her name. And Marion, we can see already they've already switched sides of the field, Shania Gordon and Jasmine Hamid. But Audrey Harding to the top of the box, Gonzalez, but it's picked off by Brooks.
That's a wonderful shout, Bridget, because we've seen so much of this Fort Lauderdale attack go through the near side, right? All of that space, taking advantage of Addison Merrick's aggressive positioning, and that direct style of play for Fort Lauderdale today has really gone all through Jasmine Hamid on the near side. Jasmine Hamid's had a couple opportunities, hasn't made the most of it, and perhaps a favorable mismatch for Shania Gordon on this near side now.
So Corbin now dropping pretty deep. Lauderdale able to get rid of it.
And the other thing that I really like about that switch for Shania Gordon on the near hand side to the flip side, we just said that Carolina hasn't gone through RJ Harding near enough. They're going to start to try and go through her more.
Aguilera taking on her defender. Aguilera rips one, deflected. Merrick into the box. Sent forward by Fort Lauderdale. So Merrick and Locklear both hit the deck. That's just pure hustle from both players.
You know Kiera Locklear's never going to go without a fight. That's a very clean tackle, very well done from our head official to lay off her whistle in that moment. And we talked a lot about Jasmine Hamid, and when we talk about Shania Gordon in that swap to this near hand side, Carolina's had some very early success with Parker, with Merrick, and Shania Gordon, as we've seen her in a couple games, has played as more of an outside back and is a role that she's learning for perhaps the future. And so not only do you get a favorable matchup in the attacking front, but you also get a little bit more stability on the defensive end.
Hopefully can break up some of that cohesion on the near sideline. Aguilera finds Parker, Riley Parker at the top of the box, looking to the backside for Gonzalez. So a corner kick now for Carolina Ascent, brought to you by Nucor. Riley Parker has 1 goal, 2 assists this season. Can she add to that in a Carolina Ascent uniform? Taylor Porter with the second corner kick of the evening for Carolina. Number 14 sends it in. It drops in the box. Headed around. Brooks with the long header out, but Porter on the end. Porter plays it back in. Headed by Studer, and finally collected by Morshea. Cosette Morshea will reset her group here, where she was hoping to. Sent out of bounds, throw in at the top of your screen. Studer. She's had some great balls forward today. Harding, the receiver. Parker. Corbin out to Aguilera. Aguilera into the box. Riley Parker towards goal. Morshea gets a hand on it. Another corner kick presented by Nucor on the way.
Exactly what we were talking about. In these moments when the ball is on the weak side, Riley Parker starts to invert herself as a striker, and that is where she is at her best. Her ability in the 18-yard box is second to none. Just to find those small half windows to get anything out of a shot. And I have loved this battle between her and Cosette Morshea. Morshea has been up to the task every step of the way.
Jill Aguilera set to take this corner kick for Carolina. Loops it into the box, punched out by Morshea. Back in by Porter. Carolina will get another chance. Sabrina McNeil trips up Jill Aguilera. Free kick coming for Carolina.
The confidence from Jill Aguilera. And I love being a professional lip reader, as I like to coin myself, and be able to see how many there from Jill Aguilera to the referee. She's taken a bit of a beating. It's been a very physical 43 minutes so far.
Philip Poole having a conversation with the near sideline official. So Jill Aguilera just outside the box on the near sideline. Aguilera to the back post. No one home to convert. So a number of players in that congested box, but not a good look still from Carolina on some of these set pieces.
The box defending has been very good from Fort Lauderdale, especially on that second phase of play, right? We've seen a couple that have bopped around the 18-yard box, bopped around the 6, but every Fort Lauderdale player has held to their defensive responsibilities.
And going back to that initial foul that resulted in that free kick for Carolina, we talk about it being an aggressive game so far as we enter the 45th minute. Fort Lauderdale United has the second most fouls in the league this season with 322. On the other side, Carolina has conceded the 5th fewest at 283. So a significant difference there. Shania Gordon hoping to fend off Parker. But Corbin there to help, and a quick switch from Carolina. Gonzalez. Tracking back was Hamid. Studer. Mia Corbin gets lucky there. I don't think that was the touch she initially wanted, but finds Jenna Butler nonetheless.
The official has indicated a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time. Brought to you by Blue Cross.
So a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time added to this first half. Brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Fort Lauderdale sends this one high and out of bounds. Marion, it's no surprise that this Charlotte community is showing out in the way that they are. It's very cool to see the support that this Carolina Ascent team has had in their inaugural season. And just look at the amount of fans that are in the stands on this Sunday night.
Yeah, we talked about the foundations that this group has been. It's not just the foundation on the field, it's been the foundation of every facet of their organization. Not to mention, they have the best giveaways.
Tonight, all the young fans in the stands, as you can probably hear them. Got some vuvuzelas.
Right on cue, baby.
Right on cue. They heard us. It's quite something to have that sort of giveaway for young fans.
Brave, one would say.
Brave, brave. Addison Merrick was hoping to beat Gordon. She's denied.
Exactly what we talked about earlier, right? That defensive stability, a little bit of support that Shania Gordon brings. And Kiara Locklear's got a really tough job tonight, right? Because we've already talked about this Fort Lauderdale side, pretty much taking the midfield distribution out of the game. And for Kiara Locklear, that's going to mean going 1v2, 1v3 often and having to be willing to welcome a lot of contact, hold the play up so that they can find those third man combinations. But it was a positive half for Fort Lauderdale. They had no doubt the best of the opportunities and could easily be up 2-3-0 right now.
Yeah, so Marion, what stood out to you most in this opening stretch for both sides?
The fact that Carolina could never really get into a rhythm on the offensive side of the ball. Mia Corbin having to drop much deeper just to be involved. I think we need to see this Carolina Ascent team have a little bit more nuance to the way that they move, particularly in how often they switch the point of attack.
Well, let's send it down to Haley Sutton, who's standing by with Riley Parker.
Well, Riley, you were this close to finding the back of the net multiple times. What have you thought about your team's offensive effort so far?
Yeah, I think we've gone through a little bit up and down through the first half. I thought first little bit we were applying a lot of pressure, and then that middle half, I feel like we were kind of taking it on the chin a little bit and then came back and settled in our game, and that's when we found a couple more opportunities. Yeah, a couple of chances for me that I definitely like. Again, just need to be better about getting my head down and picking out a spot instead of just kind of whacking in on goal. But yeah, I think I'd just like to see us settle down a little bit more, play our game, move the ball a little bit, and yeah.
All right, go get some breath. Congratulations.
I'm like, don't think I breathed that whole time, sorry.
Riley Parker, always an entertaining player. Well, we've reached halftime. We're scoreless in Charlotte. We'll look back at Tampa Bay's semifinal win from last night, recap the first half, and more. That's all coming up next. This is the USL Super League on Peacock.
Success doesn't come easy. It takes grit, hustle, and relentless effort. Every step forward brings you closer to greatness. This is your moment. Elevate your game. El Jimador Spiked Bebidas.
What launches this ball? And finds the winner. Oh, what a play! It's a bending effort.
Caitlin Clark, amazing at assists. Gamebridge, the ultimate assist for your savings. But ever since they teamed up, she's taken assisting to a whole new level. Caitlin Clark, great at assists. Gamebridge, great at assists for your savings.
You're coming with me today.
I am?
Mm-hmm. Come on.
My sister loves volunteering with her coworkers.
Heads up.
I asked her why she likes it so much.
This is my little sister.
She said there's something special about helping out with Food Lion.
Yes, of course. Have a great day.
You get to make people smile.
Here to fill tables and hearts with hope. Food Lion feeds, here for every moment.
What does a better tomorrow look like? More people enjoy safer, more comfortable indoor spaces, clean water, clean air, healthy food, and a healthier planet. That's what Train Technologies believes tomorrow should look like. So we put people and the planet first. Today, we take bold action. So tomorrow, there's a better world. For everyone.
We're scoreless at halftime between Carolina Ascent and Fort Lauderdale United. Tonight's halftime score presented by Nucor, the official sponsor of Carolina Ascent FC. All right, well, Tampa Bay has already punched their ticket to the inaugural Super League Championship. After going down early last night, the Sun came storming back in front of over 3,000 fans at Riverfront Stadium. It was a fun one.
There's one thing that I have always said about this Tampa Bay Sun side, and it's the fact that they're just dogs. They compete without a doubt, game in, game out. Doesn't matter that they go down early on a goalkeeper mistake. Sid Nacello comes in, draws the PK, Tosh Flint converts it, and then Carly Jamona, the intelligence of that finish, my goodness, sees the goalkeeper off her line and just does enough to help it into the side netting.
The Sun are headed to the final. Tampa is glowing. It was a historic night in South Florida. Well, here's a look at the news and notes. Of course, as we just mentioned, Tampa Bay headed to the final. They await the winner of this one. We've talked about it a couple of times in this match. There were some golden winners announced. We get a look tonight at Megan McClelland and Jill Aguilera, who won the Golden Glove and Golden Playmaker.
It's actually crazy to know that Megan McClellan hasn't been in the starting lineup for a couple of months, but she did so much good in that fall season that no one could take that clean sheet away from her. Well deserved from all the players on the Carolina Ascent, as well as Dallas's Allie Thornton, who just went about her business and every day came to compete.
And the MVP for the month of May was Cecilia Flew. She was named Player of the Month, and her head coach, Denise Schulte-Brown, named Coach of the Month.
And also Fits of the Month, Denise Schulte-Brown, fashionable as ever in that win to send them to the final.
We are making that award a thing from here on out. Denise Schulte-Brown wins it for May. Well, 45 minutes down in this historic playoff showdown. We'll break down the first half after this. Stick with us.
Participating during tonight's clinic are Adrian Jacobs, Grayson Gordon, Maddie Carper, Carolina Batch, and Eleanor Sloan. Thank you.
Tonight's match is brought to you by Nucor, Capelli, Novant Health, Train Technologies, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, and Food Lion. Well, Nucor has given us everything tonight. Let's break down that the stats presented by Nucor from the first 45. What piques your interest here?
Interesting is what we expected, right? Carolina Ascent firmly in control of the possession, 66%. But that's the Fort Lauderdale game plan. It's not something that they came in here thinking that they were going to control the tempo of this game. They are looking for those Route 1 moments, and they have found several of them. The shots on target, to me, though, not good enough for either team, and that just speaks to what we were alluding to in the highlights. The quality in the final third for both has to improve.
Well, the road ends here for one. Only one team will punch their ticket to the first ever Super League final. Carolina, Fort Lauderdale, second half coming your way next. Well, the stage is set for a massive second half at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Former Georgia standout Marion Crowder, Bridget Howard with you this evening. Before we get going, let's bring in Haley, who's joined by a special guest.
You know, I was going to give you guys an update on the second half, but I found this guy out in the stands throwing out T-shirts. We've got Charlotte Hornets forward Grant Williams joining us. Grant, what brings you out to the game tonight?
Supporting the Ascent. They're the best team in Charlotte right now, and they're apparent. #1 seed and coming into the playoffs, and had to show some love to this group.
Hey, how special is it to have a women's soccer team here in your city?
It's incredible. It's going to continue to grow. Closest thing we had before that was the Courage, and that's 3 hours out. So having one in Charlotte allows us to have the great youth community here and continue to grow and develop the players that we have.
All right, real quick before kick, give me a second half prediction here.
2-0, 2-0 Carolina, because we had too many chances in the first that we didn't convert.
All right, there you go. You hear it from Grant Williams, 2-0 for Carolina. Grant, appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Haley. Grant Williams looks like he knows a thing or two about women's soccer. 2-0, his prediction. I like it. Let's see some goals here in this second half.
I hate to disagree with our superstar. Carolina, they did have some opportunities, but I have to go against him here, that it was actually Fort Lauderdale with the better of the chances in the first half. Absolutely love the support from Grant Williams, the local community here. Bridget, you alluded to it, just how special this Charlotte community is. They have shown up big time tonight.
So as we get set for the second half, it's 0-0 here at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Marion Crowder, Bridget Howard, Haley Sutton with you. Second half, let's go. A trip to the inaugural Super League final on the line. Carolina starts off with it.
I like the idea of the quick play there, but well read by Shania Gordon. And we see her back over here on the near side. She ended on the near side of the first half, and she provided some defensive stability, no doubt, for this Fort Lauderdale side. I think the question is, can they get her going in the attack?
Cheyenne Allen with her first touch of this second half. So we'll go back to a couple of those substitutions for Carolina. Riley Baisden, number 10, now on for number 17, Ellie Hutchinson. And as you just mentioned, number 3, Cheyenne Allen, will take the place of Jasmine Hamid. Aguilera. We get a front row seat to her on this near side for the second half, and her playmaking abilities.
I like that substitution. Cheyenne Allen for Jasmine Hamid from Tyrone Mears. I think this game calls for a two-way player, and while Jasmine Hamid was the star in terms of being on the end of the opportunities, although she didn't convert, I also don't think that she did the defensive responsibilities to Tyrone Mears' standard. And Cheyenne Allen, a player willing to cover just about every blade of grass on the field.
Ball forward, Aguilera works around her defender. Cosette Morche gets a paw on it. Baisden looks towards goal, misses on the near side. So Baisden, that halftime sub for Carolina, getting a great look here in the early moments of this second half.
That's got to be better from Julia Grosso. That is way too easy for Jill Aguilera to get on the end of that one. Grosso even had the half step on her. And Baisden, a really exciting substitution for Carolina. Ascent, a player who, when she gets going, it is forward first and always. And that little bit of energy, we talked about Catherine Gonzalez coming into the game in the first half. She inserts a newfound energy. Riley Baisden, another player of that same caliber. And Phillip Poole really trying to bring this attacking group to life, as it was a bit dull in the first half.
So a foul on the near side. Fort Lauderdale gets a free kick. It's Daria Raji. Raji with an outswinging ball. Studer wins the throw-in. So Marion, looking back at that first half, really to sum it up in a nutshell, Carolina ultimately controlled the tempo in the first 45 plus, but Fort Lauderdale had the better of the chances. Here's one from Shania Gordon, but not threatening to Leshnek Murphy, but Fort Lauderdale had the better of the chances, and we looked at the possession stats at halftime. No surprise that Carolina was dominating in that area, but that's been Fort Lauderdale's game plan this entire night.
You're spot on, Bridget, and the way that this Fort Lauderdale side came out proves that, right? Some tactical nuances, some shifts to how they've been playing down the stretch. Addie McCain moves up to a more advanced position. You have Jasmine Hamid in the starting lineup since May 20th, right? Giving her a shot to show her speed, and it was dangerous. It was lethal. And this Fort Lauderdale side came into the match with the expectation that, you know what, if we don't have to play through the midfield, we're going to take advantage of that aggressive positioning from Carolina Ascent's fullbacks. And they did that very well in the first half. And then on the flip side, when we look at what Riley Parker said going into half, she's spot on. It was up and down. There were some moments where things looked promising, but it never really felt like Carolina Ascent could get into a rhythm. And this is a team that thrives in that kind of tempo, rhythmic style of play. For Carolina, the way that they get 3 points is to fatigue this Fort Lauderdale team with their possession, being clean and tidy on the ball.
Tyrone Mears getting a look now, as Cameron Brooks was a bit slow to get up after that collision in the midfield. Cameron Brooks, the former Texas player. She has 2 assists on the year. And we talked about it at the top of the broadcast, this back line for Fort Lauderdale has been through some ups and downs this spring, given the fact that Lavinie Vaca, who truly was the heart and soul of that back line, she felt like the glue back there for Fort Lauderdale. Ever since she went down, they've had to insert different pieces and see who works, and Cameron Brooks, one of those players called upon. Let's go down to Haley. She spoke with Fort Lauderdale head coach Tyrone Mears at the break.
Well, I asked him what he liked and what he didn't like about that first half. He said what he really liked is that they were getting the ball behind that Carolina Ascent back line. They were getting chances on goal. Now all they need to do is convert those chances into finishes. What he didn't like is kind of the same. Carolina is making it really hard on their back line. Addison Merrick and Riley Parker combining down that far side of the pitch. It's really making it difficult for Fort Lauderdale's back line. So look for them to make some adjustments on that far side.
Thanks so much, Haley.
And they did make that adjustment in the first half, right? We talked about it already. Shania Gordon coming over to the near side, which at the time was Merrick and Parker's connection, trying to provide some defensive stability. And to go back to Lavinie Vaca, how about the sister signing? Lavinie Vaca and Davi Vaca going to be playing together again in this Fort Lauderdale side. It always made me jealous, these moments, that I didn't have a sister. Just had to rely on brothers, right, to come and watch the field. But playing with your sibling, and those two, I've covered both of them at the college game, and those two have such special attributes, such a special relationship. That's going to be something these Fort Lauderdale fans are excited for in the future. Yeah,
Davi, a huge pickup for this Fort Lauderdale side, and for the remainder of the spring really was going to be used as an extra player for this side. And she spent her time in college at BYU, and Florida was first team all SEC, the Florida Defensive Player of the Year in 2023. So just a huge add. And yeah, what's better than playing with your sister? And I mean, I wouldn't know either, I guess, but I love doing anything with my siblings. So I can only imagine how much fun it is when you get to play with your sister out on the pitch. Crystal Geyser Natural Alpine Spring Water, the official water partner of the USL. Visit crystalgeyserplease.com today to find Crystal Geyser products near you. Carolina redirects. And that ball skyrocketed out of bounds. Tyrone Mears is getting fresh legs into this game. Number 23, Taylor Smith, the young star for Fort Lauderdale, will take to the bench, and it's Anelli Kamani number 6, getting her first minutes of the day. This is her 12th appearance this season. All substitutions tonight are brought to you by Botero Carts.
That substitution, Kamani, she does have the ability to play as a single pivot, perhaps a little bit more so than Smith. And so with that, you can start to release Raji into the attack as well.
Harding had a good look, lost it, gets it back. Baisden, how about that touch? Gonzalez towards goal! Catherine Gonzalez puts Carolina Ascent up 1-0 here in Charlotte.
We've been calling for Audrey Harding to get more involved into this half, and she makes the most out of a poor touch, and then look at that flick on that sets up Gonzalez, but make no mistake about it, that's not an easy finish. She's going away from goal, has to swivel her hips fully around this one just to get it on frame, and she sneaks it past Morshea into the near post. That's a missile for Catherine Gonzalez, and Phillip Poole making that adjustment looks like an absolute genius.
That Carolina Ascent goal is presented by Food Lion. Score to give me more, and there is no better time to record your first goal of the season than in a playoff game to send your team to the inaugural Super League final.
Doing it in front of this crowd, that is massive, and such a key piece to that sequence. Right? Yes, Audrey Harding gets a favorable deflection in the 1v1, but it was actually the decision from Baisden not to take an extra touch at the top of the box. It was a quick acknowledgement that I know my numbers are on the back post. I'm going to help it on. And then Catherine Gonzalez, that's just a moment of individual brilliance.
So Aneli Kamani is shown the yellow card. All cards brought to you by Apollo Law. Marion, what's here?
Well, Kamani was brought in to be a bit of a disruptor, right? She's a physical player. That one's just far too late on Jill Aguilera. But that's going to be the profile that she brings to this match, someone who can win those 50-50 balls. I thought in the first half, Fort Lauderdale did a really nice job of pressuring Carolina in the attacking half. And from there, they were able to create several key opportunities. But as I mentioned, the key for this Carolina side was going to be fatigue through possession and fatigue through tempo control. And in the opening minutes of the second half, they've certainly done that.
So a good sign for Carolina fans. Aguilera all right after that intervention. So an interesting stat here, Carolina when they score first, 12 wins, 1 loss, and 4 draws. We know that 4 draws, that's not gonna happen tonight. There will be no draws. And that 1 loss came against who other than Fort Lauderdale. And on the flip side, Fort Lauderdale have only won once when they've conceded first. So staggering differences there, but as expected when you let an opponent score first.
And stakes are a bit different here, right? Yes, stats absolutely mean something, but when your back's up against the wall, perhaps the response changes.
Gonzalez rips it from distance. She wants another one tonight, but it goes wide.
That is a bit ambitious. I love the confidence, but a bit ambitious from Catherine Gonzalez. But this is what she was brought into this game to do, drive at the back line. Unfortunately for Gonzalez in that moment, you see just how close Riley Parker was to her. She didn't really have any options on the width, and so there wasn't much more for her to do besides try a shot on goal. Why not after you've already scored the banger that she has?
Elevate your game day next season. Carolina Ascent offers a variety of pregame, halftime, and postgame experiences to take your group outing to the summit of fun. From marching onto the pitch with the pros for player intros to a postgame photo on the pitch, we can customize a chance of a lifetime experience for your group. Visit carolinaascent.com/groups to lock in an unforgettable match day experience. This ball sent towards goal, and that looked a bit tricky, but it hit the top of the netting. But not before Samantha Leshneck-Murphy got a touch on it. So a corner kick for Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, a bit of a mishit service there turned into a near shot on goal. Forces the action of Leshneck-Murphy. And when you have been struggling, right, to gain any kind of footing, set pieces can be the great equalizer.
Daria Raji with the corner kick. Great ball into the box, headed out by Carolina. Gordon across the box, but where they found success in the early meetings throughout the season, they've struggled a bit with getting players on the end of balls that have been played into the box.
It's a bit different when you get into the wide channels as a part of the build-up, as opposed to winning the ball in a dangerous area and transitioning into those wide areas and being a bit more direct. And the latter is what Fort Lauderdale has found success against this Carolina team. Winning those balls in a dangerous part of the field, options expand wide, and it's decisive in that build-up. And that's what we saw a little bit of in the first half. We've yet to see in the second.
Riley Baisden serving up dimes to the wide areas. Merrick looking to beat McNeil. She earns a corner kick.
That ball defended over the end line.
So another corner kick brought to you by Nucor.
Corner kicks brought to you by
Carolina not taking their foot off the gas. They want to add to this lead, secure a spot in the Super League final next week. So Jill Aguilera called upon for this set piece. Caught up at the top of the box. Addison Merrick tracks it down and sends it back to Leshneck-Murphy. We talk about how consistent Carolina Ascent has been throughout this season. It is crazy to think that they have never dropped below the playoff line all season long. That is consistency to a T.
I agree, and consistency is probably the thing that Philip Poole will tell you has brought them the most success. I would tell you it has been, the reason for the consistency has been the commitment to professionalism, and it's been not only the environment, the support, the tools available to the players, but it's also been Philip Poole's ability to maximize the role of each player.
So Cheyenne Allen looked like she had loads of space. She'll be called offside after a collision with Samantha Leshneck-Murphy. She's a little slow to get up.
And that's a really good ball from Raji. Just the acknowledgement that the speed of Cheyenne Allen is up there, but Cheyenne Allen a bit lazy in her starting position there, well offside. Leshneck-Murphy had it covered though.
Cheyenne Allen, we've said it, but she brings such great energy to this team, and Tyrone Mears brought her in as a starting outside back. She went through some struggles in that position, and when we talked with Kiara Locklear, she said to us that Cheyenne Allen, and despite not being in the starting lineup, she's gotten more minutes as of late, but she always comes in with a smile. She's the heartbeat of this team. And Another offside call from Locklear. Its right idea is just early runs.
It's getting a bit confusing, right? Because when we talk about this Fort Lauderdale side, we talk about the individual skill set, right? Not only in terms of their ability on the ball, but the ability off the ball, right? Their willingness to get into tackles, their speed, their athleticism, all things that these front runners especially have. And so when you have that and you know that you would likely win every single foot race that you're a part of, you start to have to wonder why you feel the need to cheat, right? And so if I'm Tyrone Mears, I am starting to yell at these attackers saying, hey, you can start 5 yards off the line and you will still get there, right? But you gotta give us a chance. And you starting in an offside position doesn't do that.
As an attacker, is it almost like you would equate it to when a player starts, when they get a yellow card or the fouls start to add up and it starts to maybe get in your head a little bit? Is that a similar thing that happens with attacking players when you start to get called offside a couple times, you maybe start to overthink it a bit more?
Yeah, and you start to potentially build frustration, right? Because you're expecting that ball to be released a couple of seconds early, and you have to start having honest conversations with the players around you.
Aguilera with a quick release. We were just talking about Cheyenne Allen. Haley's got the best seat in the house. What are you seeing down there?
Well, I'm seeing Cheyenne Allen limping, as you've seen this game be so physical from both sides. We just saw another foul, this time assessed to Carolina. But Tyrone Mears saw Cheyenne Allen go down on that last play when she was making the run towards the goal. He kind of took a peek over his shoulder and looked at the bench, and now we're getting a look at Jorian Bockham getting ready to sub in for who I can imagine is Cheyenne Allen. So be on the lookout for a Fort Lauderdale sub here in the next minute or so, but she is definitely in some pain, you guys.
That's not what you want to hear if you're a Fort Lauderdale United supporter. Cheyenne Allen, she's been a bright spot off the bench, even in the starting lineup when she's been called upon, and her speed, her energy, whenever she's gotten touches, she's looked good. So limping is not what you want to see.
From the management part of this game, right, you're having to use a sub window that you absolutely did not intend to.
Kamani slots it through to Gordon. Gordon just misses McCain. Fort Lauderdale wins it back in the midfield. Locklear up to Gordon, way offside. So a Botero cart sub on the way for Fort Lauderdale. Haley just spoke about it. Jorian Bockham coming on for Cheyenne Allen. And Tyrone Mears, in conversations with him throughout this season, they went out and got Bockham over the break. She had started off the Super League season with DC Power. She provides a different look up top for this Fort Lauderdale team. Why?
It will be interesting to me because she's a two-way player, and it is interesting to me how the relationship with Kiara Locklear on the field is going to be. We don't often see those two players on the pitch at the same time. And so we have yet to see Jorian Bockham in a wide position, but she has several years of experience as a winger. And that's one thing that Jorian Bockham brings that not a lot of players in the Super League do.
Locklear at the top of the box. Locklear equalizes! Kiara Locklear adds to her scoring against Carolina. That makes 4 goals on the season against the Ascent.
Well, it was lazy here on the throw-in from Carolina. Way too much time and space for Shania Gordon. And what a dime she drops into Kiara Locklear. And that's the finish that Tyrone Mears has been wanting to see. It was decisive, the prep touch away from Sydney Studer just enough to make sure that she did not get a deflection. And what we've come to love, what a celly.
Kiara Locklear learned that backflip in her backyard trampoline. One of the best celebrations in the Super League. Much deserved after putting away her 6th goal of the season. So we're even at 1 apiece in the 70th minute at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Marion Crowder, Bridget Howard, Haley Sutton with you this evening. We knew it was going to be a battle in Charlotte. The number 1 seed versus the 4 seed. And Fort Lauderdale making it interesting with 20 minutes to go. Thanks to Kiara Locklear. This ball found the feet of Locklear once again, but called offside.
And so there have been appeals from the Carolina bench, Philip Poole particularly, that this was an offside position. And it's important to note here, Bridget, that there is no VAR in USL Super League, right? So the call is the call. And Philip Poole on the sideline just adamant that that was an offside position. From the angle I saw in that replay, Kiara Locklear had timed it just right for that goal to stand.
Porter to the backside, but Gonzalez unable to run it down.
And the pass is too long.
Well, the climb continues for the Carolina Ascent. Be a part of the excitement as we rise to new heights in the 2025-26 season. Place your $25 deposit per seat today to lock in your favorite seats, the best pricing, exclusive perks, and cheer for the only professional women's sports team in town. Visit carolinaascent.com/season tickets for details. Together, we'll conquer the next peak.
Remember that triple threat graphic that we showed to start the Open, and how there were a couple players that have been pretty problematic for this Carolina Ascent side. We talked about Addie McCain, who although pushed up in a higher position, her goal scoring not as prevalent right in the spring season, and that's on purpose. We talked about Jasmine Hamid, and in the first half she could have had 2 to her name. And then Kiara Locklear, between those 3, it's been 8 goals now against this Carolina Ascent side. Bridget, that's more than 30% of the goals that Carolina has allowed this season.
Gonzalez called offside. Yeah, Kiara Locklear has just had her way against Carolina this season. It was in March, the 2-1 win at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Fort Lauderdale came from behind to get the win. Locklear had the game winner, and then back in the fall finale, she had a brace. So just what a big time pickup for Fort Lauderdale. Mia Corbin, again, dropping pretty deep. Audrey Harding keeps it in bounds, but turns it over to McCain. McCain to Locklear. Locklear, too much pace on that ball. She had Baucom. Ansborough, unable to thread it through. So as we enter the 75th minute, Marion, what is your assessment so far? Fort Lauderdale equalizes, we now sit even.
Fort Lauderdale stuck to their game plan, right? They had no intention coming into this game of making it a game of possession numbers, a game of building through the thirds. They knew that the space that Carolina was going to concede was over the top, and they knew that they had the threats to make them pay, and that paid off. But it wasn't without conceding a goal of their own. And so I go back to what I said to start this second half. Carolina is at their best when they're clean and they're tidy on the ball, and that they control the tempo in terms of their possession. Not only does that create fatigue on the opposition, but it also allows you to build methodically in this expansive shape. And sometimes what we see from this Carolina Ascent side is an early release of those fullbacks, and that can leave the two center backs pretty susceptible to those balls over the top. And now you're in an interesting part of the game from a management perspective, right? We're equalized. You don't want this game to go to overtime, but at the same time, you don't want to lose. And so there's going to come a point where you have to start pushing, but it's going to be in terms of the risk reward. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point if this Carolina Ascent side shifts a bit into a 3-back and perhaps tries to get Addison Merrick especially more involved, as she's been pretty quiet in the second half.
Yeah, she was such a weapon in the first half and really all season long, just the way they're able to use her. She's such a consistent, reliable outside back, but she gets into the attack and has equally as great offensive skills as Grosso sends that ball out of bounds. So far, it was Catherine Gonzalez in the 55th minute that got things going. Followed up not too long after was Kiara Locklear in the 68th minute to equalize. McNeil cuts it back. Cuts it again, looking for space. This ball across the box. Gordon on the end of it. Deflected by Jill Aguilera. And Gordon down in the box. McCain sends it wide. Carolina Ascent is a club built by the Carolinas for the Carolinas with a vision to climb and reach new heights. From corporate partnerships to single game tickets and group outings, we've got a place for you to empower women's sports across the Carolinas. Join the climb and contact one of our representatives today at carolinaascent.com. Porter gets rid of it. Phased in.
Happy birthday from all of us at Carolina Ascent.
Harding on the near side. Harding towards goal. Harding to the end line. Aguilera looking for Gonzalez. Gordon up to Locklear. Locklear waiting for some support.
That's excellent.
Love that idea by Locklear, just not enough height on that ball. One back in the midfield, Raji. Picking out Gordon, but worth mentioning, Gordon was slow to get up in the box just a couple of moments ago. Might take her a minute to get back into this.
Also important to note that I think we're starting to see the effects of not having a player like Jasmine Hamid or Cheyenne Allen as an outlet in those wide areas. You could see in that moment that Raji was looking to release to the weak side, and Jorian Bauckham a typical number 9, right? She's used to playing back to goal. She's used to playing centrally. It's a different mentality to have to be able to make those vertical runs and threaten in behind than she's likely used to.
Quick passing from Fort Lauderdale looking for space. Grosso into Raji. Harding switches to Parker. Good step from McNeil. And McNeil, one of those players that has really come into her own in this spring season. Reliable on the back line, but scored against DC. Harding was hoping to turn. Grosso said no. Well, Select is the official matchball supplier of the USL Super League and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Battle in the midfield, Kamani and Corbin. Corbin's gonna take her time. So the 81st minute now here at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Marion, how about this? Fort Lauderdale United this season, 9 goals in the final 10 minutes. The last one coming from Sabrina McNeil, who we just spoke about. Her goal in the 83rd minute versus DC was a big one.
You know, I am always here for some late game drama.
Harding. Harding to the end line. Parker was there. And Alexandra Billiter will point to the flag. It's a corner kick.
It's positive to get a corner kick out of it, but there have been multiple times where we've seen Audrey Harding take that extra touch to get to the end line, and the runs have already gotten into the 6 and the 18-yard boxes. If she could release that one touch earlier, I think she'll have more available options to her.
So we've seen a number of players switch in and out of taking these set pieces. It's Taylor Porter now. Taylor Porter into the box. A high header. Baisden misses it. Now here's an opportunity for Fort Lauderdale, but Locklear gets caught up. And Riley Baisden will be shown a yellow card from Billiter.
Well, that is a yellow card that Riley Baisden will happily take, because if this transitional moment gets to continue, it's really problematic for Carolina Ascent. Had multiple runners streaking forward in that transitional effort for Fort Lauderdale. A clear head up.
What an asset to have off of your bench. Although she just earned herself a yellow card, but Riley Baisden really has changed the game since she stepped onto the pitch. Just been another bright spot for Carolina. McNeil sends it into the box. This is the outstretched arm of Leshnek Murphy. So it'll be a corner kick for Fort Lauderdale, brought to you by Nucor. Great individual effort from McNeil on that far side. Both of these teams. Who will it be punching their ticket to the inaugural Super League final next weekend? Daria Raji. High into the box. And Balcom was there. Misses her head, and Leshnek Murphy able to collect.
I'll tell you what, this game is not disappointed in the slightest. And when the matchups came out, right, and you see the seeding, this was no doubt the one that I circled, because Fort Lauderdale has been such an interesting team. When they're on, the level of the individual players is one of the highest thresholds in USL Super League. And you heard it from Tyrone Mears. He's not been shy about it. The fact that they had to fight so hard to get into the playoffs for the group that he has, the quality that he has, it wasn't good enough. And so you knew that if they could just figure out a way to respond, a way to show some character, that this match against Carolina Ascent, who has looked tenfold to be one of the most complete teams in the USL Super League, if not the most complete, you knew it was going to be a recipe for fireworks.
Well, and complete and consistent. I think that's the key part of that for Carolina. But again, to your point, Fort Lauderdale, yeah, when they've been on, they've looked fantastic. And they have the individual talent. It's just a matter of when they can put it all together. And that's been a focus heading into the playoffs, is that togetherness, the community mentality. Kiara Locklear talked to us about it. So Carolina, if they win here this evening, they will host the inaugural Super League final versus Tampa Bay. But if Fort Lauderdale is able to come in and upset the 1 seed, they'll face Tampa Bay in the Super League final down in Florida.
As you're reading that, I kind of just got chills, right? Because I think it's so easy within the 90 minutes to lose sight of the bigger picture that has been this inaugural USL Super League season. The fact that there was a player shield available to give out, the fact that the last playoff spot came down to decision day. There has been so much buy-in from every single one of these teams to make this one of the most entertaining leagues to watch this year. And to see it all come together and culminate in what's going to be an incredible final, no matter who gets there, is really something where I know this league, the front office of all of these clubs have worked so hard to make that dream become a reality. And it's actually just crazy to see it in writing that we're almost at that moment.
We've been here from the start, and to see this season go along, all the first that this Super League has had, it's been so exciting to be a part of. And Amanda Vandervoort was on Super League Game Week this week with you and Anna Whitty, and she spoke about how she went to each of the clubs throughout the season and talked with the players, the coaching staffs, but her message to the players was, this league is what you make of it. And I think it is all credit to the players and what they have done this season to make the Super League into what it is. So we've got a hydration break now. A quick moment as it's a scorcher in Charlotte, 86 degrees it was at kick. It's a bit windy. Down on the sidelines, it's Haley Sutton. Haley, what do you have for us?
It's not super warm out anymore, guys, but it's very humid. That air is really thick, and so a lot of the girls out here you've seen are cramping. I want to point your attention to Julia Grasso down, who's still getting worked on back here. Tyrone Mears told us coming into this matchup that she was a player to keep an eye on. She picked up a knock there in the regular season finale, and really it's just been cramps after cramps after cramps. These girls are fighting to get to the finals, and you can see them laying it all out here on the field.
All three of us, former soccer players ourselves, cramping is no joke. It's no fun.
Once it starts, it's quite hard to stop. I think that there could be a poll sent out for the worst cramp. Most people are going to say calf, right? But have you ever had your big toe cramp? Because let me tell you, that pain is second to none. And you know, even with the calf cramp, you can walk a couple steps, right? You can even probably get another couple sprints in with the right antidote. That big toe starts to cramp, you're done. You might as well not even get treatment on the field.
Marion,
yeah,
is that a youth thing?
It might be. I'm asked. I mean, have you ever had a big toe cramp?
No.
Okay.
No,
could be genetics.
Thankfully not. Time winding down here in the second half. Riley Parker gets caught up at the top of the box. Jorian Baucom Came on in the second half as a substitution for Cheyenne Allen. Balcom loses her footing.
And this is where it'll be interesting for Fort Lauderdale's game plan. We talked about the fact that they've just been Route 1. They've wanted to make it a track meet almost. And to Haley's point and her wonderful observation down on the sideline about players cramping, when you're going Route 1, you're making 40-yard sprint after 40-yard sprint. You have to wonder if that starts to become an issue.
Dorian Balcom lost her footing again. She was looking to take on that back line for Carolina inside the box. So time is a ticking, Marion. And we sit even at 1 apiece. Carolina the 1 seed, Fort Lauderdale the 4 seed. Carolina won the inaugural Players' Shield. Fort Lauderdale, a team with some of the best individual talent in the Super League.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official has indicated a minimum of 5 minutes of Blue Cross Blue Shield stoppage time. Your Carolina Ascent FC is fighting until the final whistle.
So a minimum of 5 minutes of extra stoppage time added to the second half. Brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Dorian Balcom, I mean, she's been in some good positions, but she's got to stay on her feet.
That's the best spell of possession that we've seen from this Fort Lauderdale side, and it's ultimately allowed the runs to develop and find that ball right back over the top.
Locklear cuts it back. Locklear knows it's a big chance, and she earns a corner kick for Fort Lauderdale. So another corner kick for Fort Lauderdale, brought to you by Nucor. Tyrone Mears, you can see the intensity in his eyes. This is a huge moment in the 92nd minute. Daria Raji, she's been called upon quite a bit to take the set pieces this evening. She's going to take her time. Again, Fort Lauderdale, they have 9 goals this season. In the final 10 minutes, they go for the short corner. Kamani, Raji, back to Kamani. Credit Riley Beasden, good defending there. Kamani on the end of this ball. Picked off by Carolina. Grosso tracks it down. Big time work back from her.
I like the idea of that short corner, and just as I thought that the play was done, it was a cheeky little slip ball through the channel. Back to Kamali.
Addie McCain wins it from Corbin. Gordon. Raji. Raji over the top. Locklear stayed on side. Kiara Locklear looking for help. Balcom overran it. Fort Lauderdale having some good chances here in the final moments. Locklear did everything right in that scenario. She didn't have a good look on goal to be able to rip a shot herself. looks to the backside.
And that's that moment, right, where there's a difference between just aimless running into the 18-yard box versus making a decisive effort to be an option. Jorian Balcom needed to make it a bit more clear for Locklear in that moment. And Bridget, you just alluded to it, the pendulum has completely swung the way of Fort Lauderdale's. Tyrone Mears wanted to see some hunger. Well, he's gotten it here in these last 10 minutes.
We don't often see this Carolina team sitting back defensively, and that's what they've looked like. But as I say that, Audrey Harding on the run. Harding to Gonzalez, Riley Parker. Gonzalez with a rip. Gonzalez gets it back. Carolina will reset. Merrick floats one into the box. Easy for Morshea.
Well, fatigue no doubt starting to show. The options just a bit predictable for Carolina Ascent in that last sequence. Audrey Harding really didn't have anything probing from her teammates. And players just trying to play for a reactionary bounce in this moment. It's been a long season, it's been a long game, it's been quite physical as well.
Balcom out to McNeil. McNeil headed back by Raji. Well, 90 minutes wasn't enough. We're heading to extra time. Marion, quick thoughts on this second half as we have more soccer ahead of us.
I was really impressed with the adjustments that Fort Lauderdale made, and although it seemed like they were on the back foot to start this second half, they are going to go into extra time with the momentum. The pendulum swung in their favor, no doubt.
Tied at the end of regulation. Extra time is coming up in Carolina as we sit even at 1 apiece. This is the inaugural Super League playoffs on Peacock. Stick with us. We've got more soccer coming your way.
While our players take a 5-minute break, at this time we would like to take a moment to recognize the top high school women's soccer teams from right here in North Carolina, all of which proudly represent the Charlotte region. From the NCHSAA, we recognize the 1A champions, Mountain Island Charter. And congratulations to our 2A champions, Pine Lake Prep. And our 4A champions, Audrey Kell. And from the NCISAA, we celebrate the 3A champions, Davidson Day School, and our 4A champions, Providence Day. Congratulations to all the players and coaches from these championship teams, and best of luck to these future trailblazers as they continue their soccer journey.
So the inaugural semifinal needs more time. We're even at 1 apiece. Carolina Ascent, Fort Lauderdale United. Who will it be punching their ticket to the final? We've got extra time for the first time this season. That's what makes these playoffs so much fun. So to set the scene for you all, we'll use the traditional rules of 2 15-minute extra time periods. If we are still even after that, we'll have penalty kicks. There is no golden goal in these 2 15-minute periods. Something to definitely note there, but Marion, this is exactly what you want in a playoff situation. There is so much energy, buzz in the air. We've got extra time.
And this was going to be the hardest matchup of the semifinals, just in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of both of these teams and how they play. The question becomes, how do you adapt, right? We came back to a live shot of players cramping, getting stretched out. Fatigue is an obvious issue and something that at this point you can't ignore. Now, Fort Lauderdale likely has the fresher of the legs. However, they're also playing the more track meet style soccer, which involves those 30, 40-yard sprints, not only to get forward, but also to make the recovery runs. So take that into account for Fort Lauderdale. On the flip side of Carolina, you're not on as fresh of legs, but you're arguably a better team on the ball. Let the ball do the work. Be very cognizant in the options and the channels that you show up for. And then, Bridget, the key for this Carolina Ascent side that they haven't done good enough this game is positive body positioning. We have seen them play this game back to goal for the majority of it. They need players like Mia Corbin to start playing on the half turn and start looking to go forward with their first touch.
It's been tight all night, and we get 30 minutes of extra soccer. Here we go. Extra time underway in Charlotte. Bridget Howard, Marion Crowder, Haley Sutton with you for this exciting semifinal. Carolina Ascent, the 1 seed, Fort Lauderdale, the 4 seed. Catherine Gonzalez got things going in the 55th minute with her first goal of the season. Couldn't have come at a better time, followed up by Kiara Locklear in the 68th minute, her 6th goal of the season. Taylor Porter collects, plays it up. Something worth mentioning, Julia Grasso, one of those players they've had to watch for Fort Lauderdale in terms of minutes because she has dealt with injury. Around that 60-minute mark is when she's been kind of hitting a lull, and Tyrone Mears talked to us about that. Well, we've got 30 minutes of extra soccer, so you wonder how that will affect her. We've had a lot of firsts in the Super League. It's the first game to go to extra time in league history. You know these Carolina fans enjoy it. Yeah. They're never going to complain about more soccer, and you can hear it. The Vuvuzelas, they're going. Jill Aguilera ushers it out of bounds. So let's go down to Haley Sutton. Haley, what do you got for us?
Had a chance to catch up with both coaches there during that overtime in between period. I'll start with the visitors and Tyrone Mears. He was very quick in his statement. He said they need to be ruthless in front of net. There's too many opportunities that they've left on the table, and they're going to have to fix that. As for Carolina, Philip Poole, also very simple. He said, we need to be Carolina Ascent if we are going to win this game. That means staying on the ball, holding on to that possession, and again, capitalizing in front of net.
So very similar to your assessment, Marion Crowder. That's what makes you such a great analyst.
It's true. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you're Carolina, you got here for a reason, and that reason was because you likely established an identity quicker than everyone else. And to your earlier point, Bridget, not only did you establish that, you were consistent in executing it. And it's something that they struggled with as that half went on. I do think fatigue played a role, but I think it's not going to help your fatigue if you're constantly giving the ball away. Let the ball do the work, rest with the ball, and fatigue this Fort Lauderdale side with your possession.
Their turnover for Carolina. McCain shoots it forward to Baucom. Locklear running right alongside Baucom.
And that's the ruthlessness or lack thereof that Tyrone Mears was speaking to Haley about. There's been a lull in their decision making. I applauded them in the first half for their ability to be decisive when they've won the ball in those dangerous situations. But as this game has progressed and as fatigue has set in, the options have been fewer. The movement off the ball has been less noticeable. And because of that, the decision making, Bridget, has ultimately lulled.
Fort Lauderdale getting it back to Morshea and around the back line. You're seeing that fatigue really start to take place in this match because of the amount of space in between the lines right now.
Great point, absolutely.
That ball from the back line, maybe in the first half, would have gotten over that outside back for Carolina Ascent, but because there's so much fatigue playing a role right now, there's so much more space that those balls are going to have a lot more pace on them.
And this is where I actually think the fatigue affects Fort Lauderdale more, just given their game plan coming into this match. Bridget, to your point, if I'm fatigued, I am going to cheat, right? I'm going to cheat because I don't want to run the extra 5 yards if I don't have to. Now, how do you start to counteract that? Well, there's going to have to be a striker, whether it's Locklear, whether it's Shania Gordon, who starts to play off the back line a little bit more, acts as a bit more of a check down, and then perhaps you bait this Carolina team into stepping, and that space in behind opens up.
A new core corner kick on the way. Taylor Porter, her 6th. Into the box. Sent back in. Mia Corbin on the end of it, unable to turn her hips. A goal kick for Fort Lauderdale.
And that'll be a goal kick. Fort Lauderdale United.
Oh, Mia Corbin, one of the things that makes her special is her recognition of movement. And she just is off the back shoulder of Ainsborough there. And there are some balls, Bridget, where I just don't even know how she gets to the end of them. Just pops up out of nowhere.
Mia Corbin, 12 goals on the season, 1 assist, finished 2nd in that Golden Boot race right behind Allie Thornton. About that effort, Riley Parker back out to Baisden. Baisden to the backside. Too much on it.
And that's a goal kick, Fort Lauderdale United.
To elaborate more on Mia Corbin, just because she's been such an integral part of this Carolina Ascent team. She was named the USL Players Association Player of the Year. Philip Poole talked to us about it, how excited he was for her. This ball misplayed. Baucom was there, but it was Studer stepping in the way.
And that'll be a goal kick. Correction.
Baucom wasn't happy with that initial call, and
she was going to go to bat for that one.
Yeah, thankfully Alexandra Billiter reversed that call. It'll be a corner kick, brought to you by Nucor.
I feel like I almost saw Demon get released into the air if that call would not have ended in a corner kick. She politely, kindly put it back into the box. Said, okay, tone it down.
Well, this time it's Anele Kamani. Kamani plays it into the box. These corners, again, you look back to fatigue, but the set pieces for both sides haven't been up to the quality that we've seen throughout this season.
Nelly Kamani, the player on that one, and regardless of what this result ends up being, I do want to point out that her insertion into this match was pivotal for Fort Lauderdale. We touched on it a little bit when she came into the match, but her defensive stability, her ability to act as almost that single pivot had really allowed for more options for Fort Lauderdale going forward. The balance that she brings in there with Raji.
Kamani, years of experience, played pro in Turkey, Israel, Portugal, England. Spent her college days at the University of West Alabama. Butler plays it forward. We haven't said her name too often, but another big part of this back line for Carolina after the injury to Vicky Bruce.
And it really wouldn't surprise me moving forward if the relationship between Jenna Butler and Sydney Studer is one that they continue trying to work on. These two players have an obvious partnership, an obvious complementary relationship to each other. A few different skill sets between them, but both have played such a key role for this Carolina Ascent side.
Back and forth we go. Grosso picks out Raji, but Harding, that effort defensively. You can hear a couple of Carolina players saying, don't let him out, don't let him out.
And when we talk about fatigue, the next point in that conversation is how you adjust your recognition, right? Because this is not a point in the match, extra time, where you can go chase anything and everything. You've got to be very strategic when you choose to push all three lines up. And that direction was coming from the back line, right? They were willing to go and to step up in that moment.
Harding playing it all the way out to Merrick. Merrick towards goal. Oh, what an opportunity for Carolina. And it hits the top of the netting.
Bring them out, bring them out. Check the replay for Addison.
What a good win from Audrey Harding. And then makes a wonderful decision to an anticipating Merrick on that far side. She read that play the whole way, didn't delay her expansion wide. And going for a service to the back post. We saw something similar from Fort Lauderdale in the first half. Nearly a shot on goal.
Addison Merrick primarily being a defender, it always amazes me with what she's able to do offensively. Like, that's not an easy way to get your hips around the ball and actually make it a chance on goal. Another free kick for Carolina. Too long, Morshea will collect. This is a Carolina team, we have to say it again, they have a league high 45 goals, now 46 on the year. from a league high 15 scores, make that 16 now with Catherine Gonzalez becoming a part of that list with her first goal of the season. Just offensively, they've looked so sharp throughout the season, but Fort Lauderdale not making it easy on them tonight. And now both teams have another monkey on their back named fatigue. It's just going to make these last minutes that much more important, that much tougher, but also that much more rewarding for whoever is able to walk into the final next week.
And I want to go back to your point about Carolina's dominance, right? And we've been talking about their consistency. So when you spit out those numbers, it's easy for the viewer to think, oh, they've been doing it very balanced across the year. That's actually incorrect. Yeah, they've been consistent in their results, but the spring season has been lights out for this Carolina side. 32 of those 46 goals have come in the spring. That's over 70% of their goal scoring production for the season. We look at the clean sheets, 7 of 12 that they have garnered have come in the spring, nearly 60% of their overall production. And so while they were consistent in the fall, yes, the foundation was being built in the fall. And so there were some obvious ups and downs, and there weren't as many decisive wins, decisive defensive performances. And for them, that foundation is something that they just built steadily and steadily and steadily. And that's what you're seeing in this insane spring season production from this side.
To even further that point about the spring season, they won 6 in a row at one point with a plus 19 goal differential. Insane stat. So that'll do it for the first 15 minutes of extra time. We're still even at 1 apiece. Marion, it was a bit of a slow 15 minutes, but I have to imagine for both of these teams, that's a part of the game plan, knowing that no matter what, even if you were to get a goal in that first 15, you still have another 15 to play.
Absolutely. I think we'll start to see some adjustments in this second 15 minutes, but so much of that was just saying that, hey, we don't want to be too risky. We'd rather push in the second 15 because, look, 1-1 is a lot better than having to come out of a hole when you're already fatigued.
Well, let's recap how we got here to extra time. We'll go back to the regulation time and Carolina and Fort Lauderdale. It was exciting. It was back and forth, but it wasn't until the 55th minute where we finally saw our first goal of the match.
And what a touch from Riley Baisden, and what a finish from Catherine Gonzalez. Look at the elite attributes that this finish possesses. She's going away from goal. Her body's pointing to the corner flag. She's got to whip her hips all the way back to the frame of goal to even get that one to the near post. And then Fort Lauderdale wasn't done. This was the game plan coming in all along, and for Tyrone Mears and company, it finally paid off. It was a lovely drop in from Shania Gordon, and Locklear, she has had Carolina Ascent's number. She converts yet again.
She certainly had their number. She's now scored 4 goals against Carolina this season. She bagged a brace at one point, had another goal in another game, and now she gets her 6th of the season in this big-time playoff match. I love this song. This is really fitting.
I told you the house
We got to
DJ
give the
was
DJ
good.
a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I'm in any position to
you
ask the
actually
DJ
can't
for
make
a
that
raise.
decision.
I can't make that decision, but
you are in
whoever
support of
it
the
is,
petition
we're
to
in
make
support.
that decision. Got it, got it. Just to make sure we're clarifying
It
here,
is-
Bridget's not paying anyone, okay?
It is beyond important to have an electric atmosphere for the playoffs, especially when it is the inaugural USL Super League semifinal weekend. No better place to have a playoff game than in Charlotte. Look at these fans. They are having themselves quite a time. And might we add, it's a Sunday night, and
Yeah,
these fans are
so
having
nice.
an absolute
Oh, wait, it's summer.
party. It's summer.
You can tell I don't have kids. all the parents are like, no, you are wrong. School is not in. No, but look, it's actually crazy, and it's kind of fitting when we look at the full picture of what the league has done. We touched on it earlier. The fact that the last playoff spot went to Decision Day, the final game of Decision Day, the fact that the last spot in the inaugural USL Super League final is going to come down to extra time and potentially PKs. I mean, it's fitting.
It's incredibly fitting. You couldn't have written a better script for this inaugural season. We've seen so much history made already. Both of these teams hoping to continue writing their script. The #1 seed, Carolina Ascent, 4 seed, Fort Lauderdale United. Two teams that have been battling it out all season long. We knew it was going to be fun. And now we've got the second 15 minutes of extra time. Marion Crowder, Bridget Howard, Haley Sutton with you for this inaugural semifinal weekend. Who will it be heading to the final next weekend? So Marion, we touched on it a bit, but expect to see a bit of a different approach here in this second 15 minutes.
You have the ability now, knowing that it's the second 15 minutes, to truly lay it all out on the line. And as this second 15 progresses, I think that's exactly what we're going to see. Tactics matter, don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for them, but there's also a time and a place to message as the manager and as the head coach that this is about you now and how bad you want it and what you're willing to give up to get it. And this is going to be a war of attrition in these last 15 minutes.
So Cameron Brooks ushers Basden out of bounds. Thought maybe there'd be a corner kick, but it'll be otherwise. Fort Lauderdale. Shania Gordon on the far side puts one in on the ground. Goal kick coming.
And we have a goal kick, Carolina Ascent.
Cameron Brooks plays it out of bounds. Good defensive work for Madison Merrick. Merrick hoping to cut it back. Kamani denies her.
You also start to wonder, Bridget, when you think back to the earlier parts of this game and some of the early substitutions that Carolina had to make, if that's not having a domino effect in their options going forward. I think particularly to Sarah Tricoli, right? I understand perhaps she's not that type of player that's going to cover every blade of grass for you, but in that same sentence, you have Taylor Porter on the opposite side, a player who can absolutely do that. And what Sarah Tricoli does bring to this game is an intelligence, right? And an option in the build-out, a player who is comfortable playing on the half turn. And it particularly affects Mia Corbin and her ability to stay higher and closer to goal, which she hasn't been able to do this match.
Locklear 1v1 with Studer. Just look at the sheer number of Carolina players filling the top of the box. Getting compact quickly. McNeil sends this one into the sky. Washneck-Murphy comes down with it.
And they're conceding the wide spaces, right? They are not concerned in the slightest to try and mitigate services from the wide areas. They're sending players out with no support, and that's just in order to keep the central spaces protected. They do not want this match to end by way of a goal in their own 18-yard box. They'd rather force Fort Lauderdale to have to do something miraculous than give up anything through the center of the park.
So Fort Lauderdale has a player taking a knee. And that's Sabrina McNeil.
Important to note that was outside the play, right? A player going down outside the play, not ever something that you want to see. And some obvious pain is McNeil.
Yeah, grabbing that right leg. So a substitution now for Fort Lauderdale. It's number 2, Delaney Lindahl, being called upon in extra time for Fort Lauderdale. Lindahl was an All Big West first team player in 2022 at Cal State Fullerton. This is her 13th appearance on the year. Haley, you've got an update for us on Sabrina McNeil. What are you seeing down there?
She came off the field in a lot of pain. You mentioned it, Bridget. She was holding on to that right leg, and right now I'm looking at her sitting with what looks like the athletic training staff. Tyrone Mears, you could tell she just felt a little bit guilty about not being able to keep going, and Tyrone Mears immediately shook his head. He said, hey, you're good, great work, go get some rest. So obviously dealing with some pain. She's still working with the trainers. I'll keep you updated as I learn more.
Thanks so much, Haley. With a trip to the final on the line, no player is ever going to want to step off the pitch. But in the case that Fort Lauderdale does advance, McNeil is one of those players that you do not want injured, so it's not worth risking it. Here this evening, they've got Lindahl off the bench, who has experience this season. But it's a change that will Carolina take advantage of. Porter on the corner kick, Morshea punches. Falcom looked back at the head official. That intervention, but no call. Both teams taking their time. Parker mishandles. Throw in for Fort Lauderdale at the top of your screen. Played over the top, Falcom with space, Falcom towards goal, punched out by Leshnek Murphy.
That shot was off the post. Goal kick.
That's really excellent work from Jorian Bockham, and what a tremendous recognition from Locklear. But watch that bounce. You see how it takes her just outside the frame of goal. In her run, she was actually just a foot too late. If she starts that run just a little bit earlier, she potentially avoids that bounce. The ball is still within the frame of goal, and she is 1v1 with Leshnek Murphy. But still gets a corner kick out of it. Very, very well done for a tough angle.
We've had a lot of them tonight. Another corner kick brought to you by Nucor. Kamani on it this time. Flag right in Kamani's face. Kamani rockets this one in. Lovely touch from McCain. Grosso keeps it in. Locklear got a touch. Another corner kick for Fort Lauderdale.
And we have another new corner kick for Fort Lauderdale United. Taking that corner kick once again, number 6, Aneli Kamani.
So the second 15 minutes of extra time underway. It's been all corner kicks in this one. Another set piece brought to you by Nucor. Kamani on the ball again. Kamani putting dimes into the box. Locklear! Oh, but she'll be called offside.
No goal, ladies and gentlemen. Offside flag is up.
And you can tell just how much that one would have meant to Locklear and this entire Fort Lauderdale side.
I was about to say, if you've ever seen a look at deflation, there it is for you. And Locklear in a clear offside position. That is a wonderful job in box defending from Carolina Ascent. That is perfect execution, trust in the referee. Very, very well done, especially this late in the game. They did not allow the fatigue to affect them mentally.
So another shuffle of the pack for both sides. For Fort Lauderdale, it's number 21, Tati Fung, in for 12, Daria Raji. And on the other side, Carolina, Jada Bedoya, number 5, on for Audrey Harding. And Bedoya getting some early touches off the bench.
If you want to talk about an Energizer Bunny, Jada Bedoya, my goodness, I feel like that girl never stops running, forward thinking, and that's exactly what you need in the dying minutes of this second extra time.
Addie McCain slots this ball through, just out of reach for Jorian Baucom.
This is that moment of recognition. If you're Fort Lauderdale, you gotta step your lines, you gotta try to keep that ball in front of you.
Lindahl tracks it down, plays it back to Morshea. So number 10, Riley Baisden, she's down at one end of the pitch, but it was Locklear who took the fall. And you can see Studer on the ground getting stretched out for cramps. And how about this sight? Cosette Morshea helping stretch out Riley Baisden. Everyone's dealt with cramps.
Oh, yeah.
So here's officially that Fort Lauderdale sub that we mentioned earlier. Number 21, Tati Fung, will come on for 12, Daria Raji. Daria was making her first start since May 20th. Marion, she heads to the bench, but what'd you like from her this evening?
I just love her control on the ball, right? We know that that's what Tyrone Mears said, that she can bring to any match that she's in. And really where she struggled a little bit has been her decision making once she's gotten control of the ball. But tonight I thought that that was spot on. I thought she read the play in front of her quite well. She was decisive in her release points, never taking too many touches. But Bridget, as we can all see right now, it's just about fresh legs, right? Trying to find those little spurts of energy that these players still have left.
So both teams making some changes late. As we enter the 120th minute of soccer here this evening in Charlotte. Cameron Brooks. Over the top, Locklear's there. She finds the back of the net, the flag stays down, and Kiara Locklear with the go-ahead goal in the 120th minute. This entire Carolina team thought she was going to be called offside. Oh my goodness. That goal caught us both off guard.
It caught everyone in this stadium off guard, but we talked about dead ball situations and how you can most effectively execute.
And this is a reminder, there is no VAR in the USL Super League, which means, as Marion said earlier, the call on the field is the call that stands. So Kiara Locklear, the savior for Fort Lauderdale tonight. She gets her 7th goal of the season after picking up her 6th in the second half of this match.
Stoppage time brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield.
This ball sent towards goal. Cosette Morche is going to hold on to that ball.
Before we get into what is likely going to be the dying seconds of this game, I don't want to take anything away from the performance of Fort Lauderdale, but I'd be remiss if I did not tell you my opinion that that was a goal that should have been called back. It was offside, in my opinion, from the angle that we saw. To your point, Bridget, no VAR in the USL Super League. And right now, if you're Carolina, there's nothing to do about it but try to respond. And these substitutions certainly are Philip Poole's last attempt at that.
This is a Carolina team that has seen so much success this season, winning the inaugural Super League Players' Shield just a few weeks ago. Philip Poole is going to make a couple of substitutions now on. It's Emily Moxley and B. Hilton. B. Hilton becoming the first player to go from academy to pro in Carolina Ascent club history. The final moments for Carolina. Ball played across the box. McCain hoping to clear it. She does. In a match that needed more than 90 minutes, Fort Lauderdale finds the winner thanks to Kiara Locklear. Fort Lauderdale United is headed to the Super League final, where they will meet Tampa Bay Sun on June 14th.
And what a matchup that'll be. I've got to give so much credit to both teams on this pitch tonight. These players, these coaches, they laid every bit of effort, every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears onto this pitch here tonight. It was a tremendous matchup from start to finish. It was tactical chess pieces, tactical adjustments all over the pitch, but at the end of the day, it came down to one effort from one player. And Bridget, I gave my opinion, but at the same time, that is a lesson, right? To never stop playing until you hear that whistle. We hear it so much as younger players. And this Carolina side, for all that they have done right in the regular season, nothing can take that away. You have to remember everything that they accomplished. But we knew that this semifinal was going to be the one where an upset could happen. Fort Lauderdale had their number, and Fort Lauderdale came out the victor here tonight.
Well, it took extra time, but Fort Lauderdale rises to the moment and punches their ticket to the championship match. We'll be back right after this. It's 2-1 Fort Lauderdale.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening at American Legion Memorial Stadium. While today's result wasn't what we had hoped for, let's take a moment to reflect on an extraordinary inaugural season for Carolina Ascent FC. From our historic debut on August 17, 2024, where we secured a 1-0 victory over DC Power FC before a record-setting crowd of 10,553 fans, to clinching the 2024-2025 USL Super League Players' Shield with the league's best record. Our team has consistently demonstrated excellence on and off the pitch. Our players have achieved remarkable feats.
Tonight's final score presented by Nucor. Fort Lauderdale United comes away with the win in extra time, 2-1, thanks to Kiara Locklear. Standing by with the player who got it done for Fort Lauderdale, Haley Sutton, is standing by with Kiara Locklear.
Yeah, I'm just letting her celebrate with her family. I'm looking at your fan group over there, Kiara. I mean, my goodness, what a matchup. You found the back of the net, it was offsides, and then you get the game winner. Just talk me through how you're feeling right now.
I'm just so excited to have another week with this team. Obviously, it's a team effort, and I'm so proud of all 18 of my teammates just battling literally until the last minute. So I'm just so excited to go again next week, obviously against Tampa. That's a big matchup, and we're excited to crush it.
When you scored that goal, you hesitated not even a second to sprint over to celebrate with your team. What does this team mean to you?
This team means everything to me. I mean, I was just so lucky to have joined halfway through the season, and they took me in with open arms and just allowed me to feel like a part of something really special. And obviously, this half of the season has had its ups and downs, but all I can say is that we did it together, and happy that obviously we're on the rise now and looking forward to a championship.
A championship appearance next week against Tampa Bay. It's a Florida derby. Who would have thought? I know it's early and you're going to celebrate, but what are just your initial thoughts about playing in that championship game?
Bring it on. I mean, everyone's like doubted us this whole playoff run. I mean, 5%, are you kidding me? Like, we're taking it, and we're taking it home to Fort Lauderdale.
All right, there you go, Kiara. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Kiara Locklear keeping her tabs on the Super League Instagram. She's referencing the 5% of fans that thought Fort Lauderdale could make it to the championship match. Well, they're proving everyone wrong. The 4 seed walking into American Legion Memorial Stadium, upsetting the Carolina Ascent. All right, well, let's get into it. The player of the match for Carolina was Catherine Gonzalez tonight. She was the difference maker for them, getting the scoring started early. She was also the play of the match presented by Plaza Appliance Mart.
What a substitution. She was an early one at that, and she came on and had an immediate impact. That's one of the best strikes you will see in your life, and I make no mistake about saying that. That is a wonder strike. With her body turned to the corner flag, she whips her hips around, and she bangs that one into the near post.
Catherine Gonzalez notching her first goal of the season. Couldn't have come at a better time, but ultimately it was Fort Lauderdale United getting the job done. Tonight's match highlights are presented by Nucor. Fort Lauderdale walked into Carolina. They walk out, headed to the Super League final. Just a complete performance from them. It did take extra time, but they were able to get the job done.
The story of this first half was the fact that their game plan was working, Fort Lauderdale's, and they had some moments where they could have put this game away early. But Bridget, what sticks out most in my mind was the call to action from Tyrone Mears, and he wanted to see more hunger from his group. He wanted to see a bit more resiliency, and tonight, despite this wonder strike from Catherine Gonzalez to level us and ultimately give Carolina the early lead, his team immediately responded. This is a great strike on goal, and it felt like Carolina was going to take it and run with it, given the control of the game that they had. But the game plan, again, I go back to it, it was working, and they continued to trust it. This time, Locklear, who has had Carolina's number, gets her 4th against this Ascent team to level us at 1.
And she goes on in extra time to make it 5 goals against this Carolina team this season.
Look, she was in an offside position. I'm not going to say that she was not, but you have to play to the whistle in that moment. You have to believe that the play is still live, and that's going to be a lesson for this Carolina Ascent side.
Full-time stats presented by Nucor. Again, we referenced it at the break, but the possession, we knew that it was going to be in favor of Carolina Ascent, but Fort Lauderdale, they had faith in their game plan, they saw it through, and they capitalized in the moments they could.
They did, and they really did fight until the dying embers of this game. Quite literally 2 minutes left after that second strike that you saw from Locklear. Have to give them credit, and have to give Tyrone Mears credit for the adjustments he made in game.
So the finale is officially set. How about this? A shout out to our graphics team. The Super League final is officially set. Tampa Bay Sun will host Fort Lauderdale United at Riverfront Stadium next weekend. It's another edition of the Florida Derby. Who would have thought? Well, we've had a blast with you all this evening. Fort Lauderdale gets the win. They continue making history. They take down the top seed Carolina Ascent and will head to Tampa next Saturday to make even more history. From my partner Marion Crowder, Haley Sutton, our producer Emma Watson, director Gabe Sosa, that is a wrap from Charlotte. So it's set. Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay going for it all. We'll see you in Tampa next Saturday for the inaugural Super League final.